Hey guys, it's Tammy. Welcome to my channel. I have another perfume sample sniff video for you today. I have 6 samples. One I've actually gone ahead and purchased a full bottle of already, so stay tuned to find out which one I love the most and which ones were just okay. So I'm going to start off with one that I've been wanting to smell for quite a while now, and that is Via Cavour I by Xerjoff. Now, I had heard a lot of good things about this, and when I sprayed it out, I was a little bit surprised it wasn't quite what I was expecting. The first couple of times I sprayed it and played around with it, I was thinking, okay, I can see how this is a little bit my style. It's like something rich and woody and kind of complex. And then one day when I sprayed it on the back of my hand and I smelled it up close, I think that chocolate and the oud combined to give me a little bit of a manure smell. And not like standing right beside a pile of manure, but like when you stop at a gas station and you get out in a town that you're unfamiliar with and you say, oh, I think there must be a cattle farm around here, because it's just sort of, you can just kind of tell. It's sort of in the air. That was the sort of manure smell I was getting. So I would say that the oud in Via Cavour I for me does go animalic. And mostly what I was picking up was the rose and the patchouli and the oud. I really wasn't getting the chocolate, I wasn't getting the berries, I wasn't getting the fruitiness like the white peach, the quince, all of the stuff that's supposed to give it a little bit of a gourmand feeling. I wasn't picking that up. So if you have tried this, will you let me know in the comments, do you get those gourmand elements? Because if you say that you do, that is my sign to keep playing with this, keep trying it, because depending on the weather, depending on, you know, maybe what I've eaten, my skin chemistry, I know it can change like the value of the fragrance. But I tried it 3 or 4 times, and one of those times was a full wear test. Now, when I did the full wear test, I did not get the manure smell. And I actually enjoyed the wear test, but there are fragrances that I enjoy more, like for example, Rose Gourmand by Zara, which smells almost identical to Rose's Vanille by Mancera. I would enjoy the wearing experience of that just as much, to the point where I wouldn't need Via Cavour. Now, I saw in Fragrantica, people had compared it to Peregrina, and I could see the comparison. But with Peregrina, I get a lot of the caramel and the sweetness. Now, Via Cavour does have caramel too, but I'm not picking it up. I don't get anything really sweet from Via Cavour. I don't get the fruitiness. Like I said, I get the chocolate in a way that it mixes with the oud and gives that animalic feeling. So I would say Via Cavour leans towards something like, if you've smelled Veronique Gabai Noire de Mai, it gives me that vibe. I actually even compared it to Tobacco Oud by Kayali, and it has that same type of oud in it to me. I even compared it to Shaghaf Oud, and no, it was nothing like Shaghaf Oud. Shaghaf Oud compared to Via Cavour I, Shaghaf Oud was giving me vanilla and rose. It was giving me a lot of sweetness and a little bit of oud, whereas Via Cavour I was oud, and then rose, and then patchouli. That's all I was getting from it. I guess I was just expecting something a little bit sweeter. I thought I would get more of like a really pretty chocolate. I thought I would get more of the fruitiness and the vanilla and the caramel in it, and I just don't. And that's okay, because I have a lot of fragrances that fill that spot in my life, and so I don't necessarily need Via Cavour to be anything to me. But I still was very honored to be able to smell it. I just love to be able to smell these perfumes, you guys. Now, another one that I've heard about for ages on end, and I'm like, you know what? I have to smell it, because lately I've heard people rave about it more and more. And that is another one by Xerjoff, and that is Tony Iommi Monkey Special. And this was another one that kind of shocked me. As soon as I sprayed it out, I knew it was probably not for me. It was much too spicy, so boozy and leathery. I was thinking, I don't think I'm gonna be able to handle this one. Not that it wasn't gorgeous in its own way. And when I first sprayed it out, I got a burst of passion fruit. I mean, like a huge burst of a boozy passion fruit. And I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I actually have it here. Oh man. And one of the things that came to mind about Monkey Special was how chewy it was. And so it was really reminding me of the Atelier des Ors fragrances. Remember when I reviewed those and I kept saying how they were so chewy? There was something so thick about them. And this had that same kind of dense, like almost licoricey chewiness. So what did I do? I compared it to some of the Atelier des Ors fragrances that I thought it might smell like. I tried Lune Feline. No way. It was not close at all. I tried Rouge, Sarây. At first I was thinking no, but it actually ended up being the one that it was closest to. I even compared it to Noir by Night. That one is so extremely salty that I just couldn't quite draw the comparison, even though Monkey Special does have ambergris, but you know, it just wasn't quite doing it. I did get a little bit curious because on Fragrantica, I took a peek and people had compared it to Mind Games Mentor. And I do have a sample of that, so I did go and spray it. I mean, I could see where they were coming from, but I have to tell you, Mentor is so much more smooth and it's more about the coffee. Whereas Monkey Special, it was more camphorous and mentholated and it's just almost rubbery at certain points. It was kind of sharp. Yeah, the cinnamon was too heavy, the patchouli was too thick, the leather was too leathery. All in all, it just wasn't going to be for me. But just to have my curiosity satisfied and not to have FOMO and not to feel like I'm the only one who's never smelled Tony Iommi Monkey Special, you know, now I've smelled it and now I know. There are things I liked about it, but in general, it just does not suit me or my personality at all. So that's that one. The next one is by the House of Oud Dates Delight, and I've heard so much good about this one as well. And when I got out Dates Delight, I actually went and grabbed Jardins de Misfa and I had it ready and I was going to spray and compare them. And I sprayed Dates Delight first and I sprayed it on this hand. And I didn't even bother comparing it to Jardins de Misfa because it's nothing like Jardins de Misfa. Jardins de Misfa is all about the dates and the rose. And with Dates Delight, I get a little bit of dates in the opening, but it's mixed with something that reminds me of frankincense. And I know that's not listed. So before I got into perfume, I had a passion for essential oils, and sacred frankincense is one of the oils that I use for certain things, like for healing or something on my skin. If I have a blemish on my skin or something, I will use sacred frankincense. It's really helpful for a lot of things, but you know, it's not my favorite smell in the world, I have to say. Like it's quite balsamic. And in perfumery, balsamic doesn't mean what it means for balsamic vinegar. It means like tree balsam. So it's that sort of menthol, tree balsam, pine tree, you know, smell. So in the opening of Dates Delight, I got dates and frankincense, heavy on the frank. When I had first received my sample of Dates Delight, I sprayed it on paper and I felt like I was getting an overload of cinnamon. As it dried down, I realized I was getting the coumarin, the tonka bean, sort of that woody spiciness to it. And I was getting just a touch of honey. And it wasn't really even sweet, but just a touch of honey. And I was getting just a hint of the dates. And you know, I actually ended up comparing Dates Delight to Rouge Sarây as well, because I was feeling like, I know that has dates and cinnamon as well, so I thought I would compare them. And they're really not alike. I was getting a lot more sweetness from Rouge Sarây, and it had a super, super duper creamy sandalwood. And so I really like that about Rouge Sarây, but in the dry down, I actually preferred Dates Delight. Rouge Sarây goes way back to the cinnamon. Like it dries down all the way to cinnamon. Dates Delight, I thought it was really, it was a serious fragrance. It was almost like somber and serious. It reminded me of models on a fashion runway when they strike a pose at the end of the runway and they're super serious and they look at the camera like that. That's what Dates Delight felt like to me. It felt like someone who can be sexy without smiling and just has that runway stare. It was like, take me serious. I'm a niche perfume. I am Dates Delight. Now I have an Amouage fragrance and I wanted to smell this for so long, and it's Love Delight. I don't think I've been showing you my samples as I go, but I do have all my samples here on the table. When I first sprayed out Love Delight, I got like a spicier version of something like Replica Beach Walk. That was just my first impression. But the door slammed open instantly and then came in to smell like an orange blossom. Now looking at the notes, I guess it doesn't technically have orange blossom. It has orange and it has florals. But if someone asked me, like, you've got to like bet all your cards, like you've got to put all your cards on the table and bet what you think's in here, I would stake everything on saying the orange blossom is in it. I have mentioned in at least 2 videos on this channel that I do not like the combination of citrus, especially orange, with cinnamon. To me, they clash so badly. So I took a look at the notes and I see ginger, orange, cinnamon, rose water. heliotrope, jasmine, rose, vanilla, cacao, rum, and cypriol oil. Those would never be notes I would choose to put all together. Like when I look at those notes, they just don't seem to harmonize. Cinnamon and the orange with rose water, with heliotrope, with cypriol oil and rum. Like they just don't seem to go. So considering how the notes look to me and how I would have assumed the perfume to smell, actually it's not that bad. So I accidentally discovered what this smells like, and I've never heard anyone else say this, and you may or may not agree, but it smells like Golden Rule by Fleur. I have mentioned before that Golden Rule is a very orangey scent to me. The orange flower water that's in there, and then I think it has either orange or mandarin or some orangey citrus note. Those take over the entire scent. I do get the coconut and I do get that tropical feel at the opening of Golden Rule, but I mean like half hour in, it's orange. It's orange all the way. And so with Love Delight, I get what to me translates to an orange blossom smell. It's sort of an orangey floral with cinnamon. So when I first sprayed them out, I'm like, oh shoot, they actually don't smell alike. Half hour in, I'm like, oh, they kind of smell alike. 1 hour in, identical. And it's like, I have discovered something new. Love Delight smells like Golden Rule to me. Because I just get these little ideas in my head, like, I think these might smell alike. This is reminding me of the day I wore Golden Rule. So yeah, I guess I'm never really truly disappointed, even when I don't like a fragrance, because the whole point was I wanted to smell it. And now I know what it smells like. And now I know for myself. And if I had never started a YouTube channel, I still would be comparing these and smelling them and making notes. I'm not doing it for the channel. I am, but I mean, I would be doing it regardless because it has been my hobby and my passion ever since I got into perfumes. I just do this. And then it just sort of sprung up from there of like, oh, I think I will actually film my thoughts and just put them out there, and maybe no one will agree with me. But if you do, it would be so cool, and it's just fun. So the next fragrance I tried was Al Contrario by Tiziana Terenzi. So Al Contrario was love at first sniff, a true love at first sniff. My love for this fragrance is real. We're in love. We're eloping. Now, this is a warm and cozy, nutty, chocolatey vanilla. There's a little bit of a deep, woody, earthy texture to it that gives it a little bit of balance, so it's not overly sweet. It's one of those huggable fragrances, so cozy, so huggable. What I get a lot of in this is the malt. And do you remember the malted milk chocolate bars, or like the Mars bars, that malt that's in there? And I've never had a malted milkshake before, but I've heard of malted milkshakes. If I ever ordered a chocolate and vanilla combination malted milkshake, and there's also hazelnut in this fragrance, and so I was picturing like a warmed up spoonful of Nutella just drizzled over the top of this malted milkshake, and then you take Ferrero Rocher chocolates and you kind of crumble them and use that as a topping. I feel like I get every part of this fragrance. Even the one floral that's in here is orchid. And I usually tend to like orchid and fragrance. Maybe it's a fantasy note, but I usually tend to like it. Whatever they're doing to it, I like it. So this is along the lines of Sissa. It's cozier than Sissa to me. It's a little bit like Lost in a Dream, but it's not that lactonic. It almost reminds me at times of Oh La La by Theo Cabanel, but that's more tobacco and orris, and it ends up being more powdery, and this is a little bit powdery, but it's not that powdery. But I just absolutely love this fragrance, and the love in my heart for this fragrance grew, and it grew, and it grew, and I closed my eyes, and all of a sudden, there I was with a bottle of it. I kind of remember ordering it, but it was a solid dream. It was just like a beautiful dream. I'm so excited to have a full bottle of Al Contrario. Now, you guys, this is a 50 ml. This is just the cap. Look how tiny this bottle is. Like, look, this is 50 ml. It does sort of remind me of, yeah, like a Mars bar, a malted milk bar. Yeah, sort of like Ferrero Rochers, sitting in a, I don't know, almost in a forest. It does have that woodiness to it. Now, if you want to be de-influenced from buying Al Contrario, just go read the reviews on Fragrantica. There's everything on there from this smells like mothballs. This is a sickeningly sweet sandalwood. I had to scrub it off. One person said it smelled like chocolate baby wipes. I don't get the type of like baby powder, nothing like that from this at all. I can't even make my mind go there. Sometimes when someone says something like that, it can almost ruin a fragrance for you, but I can't even get that if I try to think of it that way. Oh, it's gourmand to me. Like, it's totally gourmand. I saw someone on Fragrantica compare it to Black Phantom, and I'd have to say, to me, not at all. To me, that is a very, like an artificial smelling, you know, coffee and rum scent. It has sort of almost like a synthetically sweet, yeah, it's just sort of like a synthetically sweet. And this is a more natural smelling, nutty, cozy, a little bit powdery, woody, malted. It's so good. I wanted to look up what malt was just because I just wanted to know a little more about the malted milkshakes. And apparently it was a powder that they would add to the milkshakes that gave it a toasted caramel-like flavor with a mellow nuttiness and milky sweetness. So I'm definitely getting the malt in here for sure. Sugar cane. So you have the sugar, but with the woodiness of the sugar cane. Cacao pod, so it has that chocolatiness, but still with that rich woody texture. Ebony wood. I tend to like ebony wood in fragrances. Tonka bean. Yeah, vanilla, hazelnut, sandalwood. Oh. I love it. I love it. I love it. And last but not least, I've also been wanting to smell Peach Aurum by Navitus, and this is in collaboration with Sharita. When I received my package, now I got a 5 ml sample, and when I received my package in the mail and I opened it, I think it must have leaked a little bit, and the package sort of had a smell in it. And of course, having leaked out and having, you know, evaporated a little bit, the smell would be close to what the dry down is. So when I opened it, I said, oh my gosh, I think she gave me Armani Code by mistake. It smells just like Armani Code, which I own, one of my very favorite fragrances, so familiar with it, and that's what it was giving me. So then when I actually took the sample out, got it cleaned off a little bit, and I gave it a spray, I was a little bit shocked because the opening is so dramatically different from the dry down. So what I got in the opening was a ton of amaretto and the peach. I don't tend to like anything that is almond flavored where it takes the sweetness of the almond, like almond extract, like marzipan, like amaretto. I don't tend to like almond flavors when it's just the sweetness of the almond. I like almond if it was like ground up and just natural and powdery. Before I even ordered the sample, the one note that scared me was the amaretto. I know that I don't like it, and so you do get a ton of it in the opening and with the peach. And then the peach goes a little bit like a peach ring sour candy to me. But this is what happens with this fragrance. Within a half an hour, all of the booziness burns off. I say burns off because I feel like when you're cooking with alcohol and you heat it, like the alcohol slowly just burns off. But yes, all of the booziness is gone within a half hour, and the peaches go from sort of a candy peach sweetness to a natural peach sweetness. And then I get the pastry, and then I get the condensed milk, and then it starts getting creamy and it starts getting cozy. It starts smelling like a peachy dessert. What it does on my skin about a half hour in is it becomes almost as creamy and sexy as Armani Code is. But if you took the orange out of Armani Code and you replaced it with peach, that's what it's giving me. The cinnamon and the rose notes don't factor into this fragrance at all. For me, I don't really detect rose. It probably is giving just a little bit of freshness to the fragrance. And I also don't detect the cinnamon at all. What's probably happening is it's giving it sort of an underlying warmth. And that's good for me because I don't like cinnamon at all. I shouldn't say I don't like cinnamon at all. You know, I like cinnamon rolls, but I just don't like cinnamon normally in fragrance. This becomes so cozy and addicting to smell on my skin, and I end up really loving it on myself, and my husband super loves it on me. He really loves it on me. There's something about this that I love. It's only the opening that it sort of deters me a little bit, but the transformation that it undergoes on my skin when it becomes so creamy and cozy and like a warm peachy dessert, and like even like that, the oak leaves. I love oak in fragrance. What is the one that I love so much that has oak in it? Is it Bourbon? Nirvana Bourbon by Elizabeth and James. I believe that has oak in it, and I love that in it. So I love the oak in this. It just comes across. You know, I actually compared it to Deep Red by Hugo Boss too, because that's what it's putting me in mind of. The ones that I go and gravitate towards comparing it to, it may give you a little idea of sort of what it smells like. So, you know, you're thinking Deep Red by Hugo Boss if you've smelled that. And I actually compared it to Armani Code Absolute because I thought that one has a little more sharpness and a little more perfuminess than Armani Code does. But even that wasn't quite like this. This is very unique. I haven't found anything that smells quite like it. So on my skin, it becomes so addictive and I love to smell it. And so, you know, the next day I want to wear it again because I loved it so much, but then I get the opening. So it's sort of like a vicious cycle for me. I love the dry down so much that I want to try it again. And as soon as I spray it, I'm like, oh no. It's the opening that it's just keeping me from being fully in love with this one. But I do love it. There's so much I love about it. And I feel like, you know, I feel like it's a little bit underrated. I haven't seen it out there that much. I feel like if you like amaretto and if you like a really sweet peach, then you would love the opening. And I don't know who wouldn't love the dry down. The dry down is incredibly creamy, peachy, desserty. I do get that pastry. I do get that condensed milk. It's really good. Really good. So me and this little sample are going to stick together. You know, I'm going to keep trying this. I'm going to keep trying it because I do love, 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 love the dry down. So that is Navitus Peach Aurum. So thank you guys so much for joining me for my perfume sample sniff today. I had so much fun talking about perfumes with you guys. You know, my opinions on these doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be yours. And sometimes there's going to be perfumes that you and I agree on and some of the ones that we don't agree on. And it's going to kind of overlap, like one of those little graphs where like some of the ones we do agree on, some I like, some you will like. And that's just how it goes with perfumes. Like we're all different, but we do agree on some and some we don't agree on, and that's okay. Let me know your thoughts on these, guys. If you've tried them, I'd love to know what you think. Even if they're different than my thoughts, I just want to know, what do you think? So thanks for joining me today, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.